Yo, it's your boy Marcus Amorsini back with another video. Today we're going to be breaking down firing range, hardpoint, and S&D. A little bit of control, probably not much because I'll save that for its own separate video. How to play hardpoint on this map, what you should be doing, strategies, and things of that nature. So let's start off because I got a lot to say. If you're spawning on this side, you should be going trailer. Either side you spawn on, you should be going trailer. Trailer is the pinpoint part of the map that you can get the most control over the entire part of the map, and it helps you with your rotations from the P2 hardpoint to the P3 hardpoint, and you can overlook P1 from there as well. The only hardpoint that it doesn't affect necessarily is P4. You can't really do as much on the P4 hardpoint while you're in trailer, except for help spawn people out. So there is that. That being said, right here, if you're making a call out and somebody is on the P1 hardpoint and you die to them, you should be calling out, he's P1. Right, that's where I'm at now. This first hard point is the P1 hard point. So make sure when you're describing where somebody is at, if you died in that hard point, just say P1. It's super simple. Whether you're playing S&D or hardpoint or TDM, it doesn't matter. Just say P1. That should be a well-known call out for that part of the map because that's the first hard point. It already has a call out. It's the first hard point. Whether you play hardpoint or not, you should know that. Just saying. Shout out to Vengeance for being in this game and knowing that little hop-up spot that I just found out when I was playing with him. Anyway, right here, I'm in P3. I'm in trailer, right? So this is the part of the map you want to hold down. So when you're going for your P2 rotation, you want to be spawning back trailer, holding them, spawning down in tires, right? This is my favorite spot right here. If I'm holding time in this hard point, this is exactly where I want to be. I want to be pre-aiming this doorway in a pretty cheesy, spot behind the desk, kind of an off angle, hard to hit. So I highly suggest you use that spot. Obviously, don't use it necessarily every time. Switch it up, move around a little bit, and that's a good spot for you to use, just in case y'all haven't really abused that like you probably should. That's also the truck right there. Nobody uses that. I'm like the only person you'll ever see back there. So I highly suggest you give that angle a shot as well if you're pushed out from trailer. That way you can cut off the reinforcements coming from tires, which is where I'm pre-aiming now, down that container. Now, another angle I like to hold when I'm holding for this hardpoint is this angle right here. A little bit longer shots necessary, but it helps you cover both the 10 push and the container push into the P2 hardpoint, also known as American. I don't like it when people call it American. Just call it P2. It's not hard. But American works. A lot of people understand that. So if you're playing with people who know it as that, that's fine. I just like calling it P2, okay? There's hard points on all these maps. Just call them by the hard points because everybody should be playing every game mode and understand that this is the P3 hard point, also known as trailer. You know what I mean? He's in P3. He's in trailer. That's fine. Those are simple enough call-outs. People will understand that. But I just want to make sure that we're calling out things correctly. This is a very important thing because a lot of times you're playing with people with mics. Now, a great place that I like to hold if I'm playing P3 is this little heady right here, right? Both sides of it is excellent for holding down back trailer. There's only two ways to get in trailer. I don't really count the window since it's so difficult to hop in there a lot of the time, and it's such an easy way to die. I don't count that, but back trailer is an excellent angle to hold down, so I highly suggest you use that when you're on rotations to the P3 hardpoint or in general just on that side of the map. Trying to hold down trailer for the other hard points like P1 and P2. Use those angles and those headies. Now, you will spawn in back red for P4, right? P4 is bottom wood. Call it bottom wood, call it P4. I call it P4 most of the time. Bottom wood, I'll call it sometimes because people just know that call out better. I say P4 and people are like, what are you talking about? Because they don't really play hardpoint. They probably mostly play S&D. Another thing I want to cover is this jungle spawn, right? So when you're at P4, if you're not spawning red, you're probably spawning jungle and tires. Essentially, I call that whole back area tires, but really tires to jungle, it's all kind of the same thing. You're spawning in hell, right? If you want to get spawn trapped on firing range, get pinned in tires, and you're going to have a horrible day because you're going to get absolutely destroyed for as long as you're down there until you can fight your way out, which is usually pretty difficult, right? One of the best spawn traps in the game is like domination A, B, and C flag cap with your teammates in trailer, pre-aiming down the three angles to down to tires. And the other team is spawning in tires. It's terrible. You don't want to be pinned in that spawn trap. Now for P4, power positions, obviously top wood, back wood, and if you can get in the tower, that's nice too, to kind of cover the mid-map area and people coming up from tires through mid, also known as the P1 area. But I would describe that as mid, which is the area to my right here where I'm running at now, where this heady is. If you wanted to call that like mid-map, I could understand that. That's fine. Like mid to P1, if they're coming up that angle into the P1 hardpoint. That's a good way to call that out. I think that's super understandable. It's quick. Mid to P1, that's a quick call out. You know what I mean? There's no other bullshit being said there. Next up, for a little power position, obviously top 10 is great. Great place to be and kind of finesse around the first hard point, and you can be difficult to kill in there. So I highly suggest that. Here on the mini map, as I'm facing towards the tires area, which I generally consider just that whole bottom area as tires, not just this area where all the tires are. I count all of that as tires. So if you're in tires fighting your way out, this truck heady right here is probably your best bet for cover while you're taking fights. So obviously you would want this to be destroyed so that you don't die behind it. And you can use this as a heady. You can kind of, finesse around, crouch, just use it to your advantage, right? With that being said, if you're using that to your advantage, you're going to be able to cover a lot of the pushes towards the P2 hardpoint. So if you're spawning down here in the worst place to possibly spawn, which is tires, at any point in time on any game mode, you do not want to be in tires at all. Unless it's S&D and you're just having to clutch up around or something, there's no reason for you to be in tires. You don't want to be down there. It's just a terrible place to be in any aspect of hardpoint or TDM or domination or really control either, right? You just don't want to have to push down the tires. That one little alley down the container to get down there is a terrible place to be. That being said, now that we're at P2, kind of talking about these places to hold him down, and I've kind of covered the angles I want you to hold. With the guns, as said in the comment that was given to me to kind of make this video about, I would highly suggest you use the USS-9, and that's it. You don't really need another gun. Just use that. It's the best gun in the game at pretty much any range. It's insane how good that gun is. So in terms of what guns to use, that is the best gun in the game as I make this video. ARs and LMGs would probably be best for holding a lot of the angles shown in this video. DRH, HVK, Odin, MG42, something with a lot of bullets, or a 3-shot to kill weapon, generally speaking. SKSs, type 63s for those longer angles down the container tunnel where I'm pre-aiming now. That's a good thing to use there as well, and helps pick people off headies if you can acclimate yourself to using those guns. Now, this is a spot I like to use a lot in S&D. Right here, I'll hop up here and I usually use a sniper when I'm up there. That way I can pick people off that back truck angle. But you could also use that in hardpoint. It's a really off angle that's hard to see, and people don't check that. So it's a good spot to be. This is another area right here on this heady. If the P4 hardpoint is popped and they're spawning down there where I was just pre-aiming towards tires, excellent place to be. Because if they're spawning down there, you're probably spawning red. Worst case scenario, they're spawning where I was just shooting over there towards American and P2. So that's a good place to hold. If you get unlucky and they start spawning American, which is very possible, it's a very common spawn, then, you're going to get picked off at mid. So it's not necessarily the best place to be, but you can kind of change that by being in trailer. That's the one thing about trailer on P4 is you can help spawn people out towards tires. This is an angle I like to hold, holding back P4. I like having them push up jungle, not knowing I'm there, and then as soon as they come around that corner to come into the hard point, I'm able to get picks on them, get some shots in, and then teammates can finish them off in here, or I'll get the full kill. Now, coming through mid-map right here, this is an excellent... He's going in tower. Obviously, tower is probably one of the best places to be in for the first hard point. You can you could stop anybody from getting in there. It's just killing the people who are actually inside the point that's a problem. That being said, I've kind of covered all the spots I would normally use. As you saw me pause, pretty much anytime I shot in this video, that's a good place of reference for where I like to hold angles and things of that nature. So keep that in mind if you want to go back. I kind of shot at places where either people were spawning for certain hard points, which would be popped up on the screen at that time, and then where people would be coming from when you're holding angles. Just kind of use that as a frame of reference. I'd also like to touch on a couple of other things when you're thinking about playing at a higher level, right? Because that's what this video is about. Understanding spawns is not necessarily a higher level. I feel like people should generally know that, right? This game's been out 5 years. You should kind of understand spawns and how they work, where people will spawn in Hardpoint. But if you don't, tac maps is something you should probably look at, and really just features in COD Mobile now. Just looking at the map after you play a game of Hardpoint, and you can kind of see where they spawn depending on where your team is. And I did that in my video a couple days ago, where I said this is a game changer, and they have this new mechanic in COD Mobile where you can see the map, like the over map point of view of your gameplay. And I did a whole video on it, and that really explains what that feature does to make the game better. So if you want another description of how this feature works and how to generally get better, that was specifically for Crash Frontline. So that it's not necessarily like Hardpoint, it's a completely different game mode, but it does do a good job explaining arrows on a mini-map, which is the basis of Call of Duty at the end of the day. That being said, I kind of want to cover TacMaps.gg and TacMaps as a whole. This is a console-based feature, but I do believe they have older maps as well, not just BO6 maps. And this is just an tweet, I guess you could say, of some of the stuff they talk about on there for the console competitive scene. Way more in-depth stuff that you may not understand, but we'll get you there in the COD Mobile scene. Thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. It's been your boy Marcus Morcini. I'm out of here. Peace.